Hey, listen to Commander Cookout Podcast, episode 38. I'm Brando. I'm here with Ryan, and today we're moving into Tier 2 in our Arc of Escalation as we be those guys, and we talk about slivers. Hit that theme song! Hey Ryan, we're back for another whirlwind adventure. How you doing?
We are back. What is going down?
Whole lot. We're moving into Tier 2 of our Arc of Escalation. We're talking about a 5-color list. We're talking about slivers, specifically Sliver Queen. Very cool. I'm very excited about this. Slivers was my second EDH deck. My first EDH deck that I'm happy with. Haven't played it in months. Thinking about taking it apart.
Ooh. Well, we'll talk about it today.
Yes.
I think slivers are kind of... I kind of feel like dinosaurs were a few months ago. Every 13-year-old Magic playing boy's wet dream.
Yep.
But I kind of associate them with newer players because new players just like slivers. CCO Nation, we are not talking about Sliver Tribal today. That's not what this is.
No, it is not. It might look like it on the surface, but it's not.
Tuned Sliver Tribal is very powerful.
Yes, it is. You want to check one of those out? One of our lists is on our tapped out page.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. We'll get to the social media coordinates in a second.
Yep.
But I just want to make sure so nobody turns off their show that this isn't Sliver Tribal. It's Sliver Combo Control. It's a Tier 2 deck. This is like a real deck.
Yes, it is.
So, Brando will get into it now.
Social media coordinates. We are CCO Podcast on Twitter and the aforementioned tapped out. That's where you can see this list, my sliver list, any other sliver list, or any other list that we are going to talk about now or in the future. We're Commander Cookout Podcast at Gmail, or just Commander Cookout at gmail.com. If you want to send us fan mail, hate mail, show ideas, deck lists, spiciness reports, anything you've been thinking about today, or, I guess, no nudes.
Or nudes.
It's a thing.
Especially if you're my wife.
So anyway, we are also Commander Cookout on iTunes, Google Play, Google Machine, Commander Society, EDHREC.com, Patreon, and Podomatic, where we are number 4, hot on the heels of those scrapbooking ninnies.
The scrapbookers.
Who at this point are, I think, on episode 17 of their scrapbook a day in December. Why?
Have you listened to them
Why?
recently?
Yes. If you could see my face.
They can tell.
Fuck. So those are our social media coordinates. If you want to get in touch with us, feel free. We really look forward to hearing from you guys, and thanks for listening. We got shout-outs from last week? Corrections? Anything you want to talk about?
We kind of have shout-outs. What we have this week is special Christmas giveaway.
Oh, yeah.
Both for Christmas and for our patrons.
We should overlay some Christmas music, if I think of it.
Not to beat on the patron thing, because we said we weren't going to do that, but I am going to remind everybody that nothing is behind a paywall. So a simple like, subscribe, retweet gets you entered into all of our giveaways. And what we're going to try and do is let's call it a monthly or a per arc, because our arcs are 4 or 5 episodes. This one's going to be like 6, but at the end of each arc, we're going to do an arc wrap-up show. And this week, we're not quite on the last episode, but it is Christmas, so I thought, maybe today is a good day.
I guess technically our next episode will be closer to Christmas, but it's after Christmas.
By the time you guys hear it.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, then it's like,
Yeah, so here we are. It is what it is.
yeah, F you.
Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, holy shit! It's a giveaway!
Yeah!
That
Okay,
was good.
so what are we giving away? You've got a couple things that you talked about out of the foil box.
Yeah, I went into my foil box. I picked 5 essentially random cards. I think all EDH playable, nothing amazing.
I think one of them is beat to shit.
Yeah, one of them is beat up pretty bad, but I pulled them kind of at random until I got things that weren't in totally terrible shape. Have I ever told the story about my foil bag?
No.
I'll tell that story real quick. Foil bag story. After my house was broken into, a big portion of my collection was stolen. Now, in order to kind of replace those things, I went on a buying spree, I suppose. And
With some insurance money, right?
With some insurance money that I got, which was nice. And then I got a text from a buddy of mine saying that he had bumped into a guy at our local game store who was just selling a bunch of random stuff, and he was just approaching people in the store. Hey, do you want to buy these Magic cards? And it's like, hey, Brando, maybe these are your cards.
Bring your knucks.
So I brought my shank and some money in case they weren't my cards.
Yeah.
And
I had my shank in one hand and my money in the other. And I goes down to the stores I go.
Actually, I met him at McDonald's. Of all places, I met him at McDonald's,
Oh.
and the kid's like, "Yeah, I want to buy a new computer," and I'm like, "Okay," and I'm looking through, and these cards are the worst. Like, they're in such bad shape, some of them. And I look through this, and it's a shopping bag, like a Walmart or grocery store bag, just stuffed full of foil cards.
Oh, excellent.
And I'm looking through them all, and there's some good stuff. There's some decent. There's some, like, a playset of foil Sun Titans. Like, there was some neat stuff in there, but there was also a whole bunch of garbage. And I'm like, "I'll give you $5 for this. I'll give you $5." And the guy's like, "Okay." So I gave him $5. Now I have a bag full of foil cards.
Oh, so excellent.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to sort through, and I've got most of the chaff.
I didn't
is
actually
gone.
know that. That's funny.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat story. But yeah, so some of those, that's why some of them are beat up. Some of the corners are a little nicked. Some of them are in pretty good shape.
So what do we got? We're looking at?
Yeah, we got a Wall of Essence.
Okay,
all
sounds
foil.
terrible.
Wall of Essence is a 0/4 for 1 and a white defender. Whenever Wall of Essence is dealt combat damage, you gain that much life.
Okay, I'll take it.
Sort of goes in the life gain deck that we talk about. As a blue card, this is probably the jankiest one. We have blue 2, enchanted creature gets -13, -0.
It doesn't even kill it.
Doesn't
blue
even,
pacifism.
yeah.
What's
but
it called? Chant of the what?
Chant of the Ski Fang. Skeeve Sang.
Skeeve saying.
It's
It
got a neat,
sounds like I don't want to Google it.
it's got a neat picture on it. Then we have this is a really good shape. This one's a really good shape. Live fast. Black 2. You draw 2, lose 2 life, and get 2 energy.
That is a draw 2, lose 2.
Yep.
We play those already.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I like
So
that.
that's definitely playable. Then we have a Horde Smelter Dragon. He is a 5/5 for 4 and red. Flying. Has an ability. 3 red. Destroy target artifact. He gets +X/+O, where X is the artifact's converted mana cost. So repeatable artifact destruction on a huge beater. And lastly, for green, we have a foil Naturalize.
Very
Which,
excellent.
if you're not playing Naturalize, you should probably have some Naturalizes. And so somebody is going to get one. Nothing fancy, nothing great, but random draws out of a foil box, that's what you get.
Somebody is going to get all 5 of those, and that somebody is a Mr. Lloyd N. Roberts III.
That name is awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, Lloyd
N.
and
Roberts
III.
III.
Technically 4 names, if we call him the third.
Yes.
Okay,
the
the
third is
third.
definitely his last name.
All right, the third. You gotta hook us up with some sending address. You get some sweet foils.
Mr. the Third, now
Mr.
that he's
the
a
Third.
contest winner.
Yeah, I like that, Mr. the Third.
Yes, so he retweeted a couple of our tweets on Twitter. So, of course, per tweet you retweet, that's an entry. And Twitter's nice. It says Mr. the Third retweeted 2 of your tweets.
Neat.
So that's how I knew to enter his name twice.
I like that. Here's an interesting thing for Mr. the Third. If you can use all 5 of these cards in one deck, we'll do a deck tech on it.
Yes, and it won't be Sliver Queen.
And it won't be Sliver Queen, but hey.
Okay, so we got more giveaways. We got 2 more packages. So package number 2 is, I'm going to call it a draft set. So you're thinking 3 booster packs.
Okay.
But it's not 3 booster packs. It's 3 of the awesome dollar store repack booster packs that we use to play OpenFlippy.Drinky.
Yes.
And the last barbecue that we had, we played it, but instead of okay, so we each had a couple packs and we opened, and we were just drinking beer like normal. But the last pack was flip, worst card in the whole pack has to take a shot at tequila. So I ended up opening that white card for like 7 that makes your life total 27 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Commander's so bad, so I had to take a shot at tequila for that card. And for our so winner of 3-pack of OpenFlippy.Drinky, Max Crandell.
Who's that?
He is from CMDR Central. He said he's the guy that said that Commander Cookout is like his second favorite or in his top 4.
Oh, neat.
What a dink.
Yeah, so not only are we his favorite,
No, we're
now
not.
he's taking our
We're
stuff.
like his second favorite.
Hey, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except he's getting the OpenFlippy.Drinky packs.
Yeah.
Because he had a couple entries based on Patreon page.
Cool.
Now, this next prize, I think the best prize of them all, because I like it because I painted it, and also it has the most cards in it.
Okay.
And it is a plague mirror that I painted with a little Christmas bag and Santa hat.
It's very nice.
And I took a picture of it. I'll post it on Twitter when the episode goes up so you know what you're getting. And it's also 2 100-card repacks from the dollar store for openflippy.drinky. And these are excellent. You shuffle them all up. You've got 200 cards. You divvy them out to you and all your buddies. You flip them. Worst card drinks.
So good.
Yeah. And
there are rares. There are foils. And
those drink too.
And the last ones that we opened, I believe, had 2 basic land in them.
Yeah, so basic land you drink as well.
Yeah, so you're getting... And they're not all terrible cards.
Yeah, and you know what? They probably won't get there before Christmas, but hopefully they get there before New Year's, because you'll be sitting around with friends and family, hopefully playing Magic and drinking, celebrating in some way, shape, or form, and these are excellent because... There's so many cards in them, and there's so many weird, janky cards, and they run the gambit from, like, back to Homelands all the way up to fairly recent.
Yeah, basically, I wouldn't say Ixalan, but probably the one before Ixalan with all the vehicles. I can never remember the name.
Kaladesh, yeah. I opened up these when we did Joel's Cube, before we did Joel's Cube, and I got Kaladesh cards.
Yeah. So who's our winner there, Ryan?
Winner is Chris Flynn. Chris Flynn. Patron Chris Flynn.
Congratulations, Chris Flynn. Dude, you got to come up with a better moniker than that. I'm sorry, but you got to have 4 names, or you got to have some kind of neat rhyme in there.
Chris the
Fist Flynn.
Yes, Chris the Fist.
I hope that sticks. Feel free to use that.
It sticks in my mind.
Excellent.
Chris the Fist. You get a sick plague mirror, and you get 2 giant packs of openflippy.drinky. I hope you drink.
Or eat cookies. We also said that you can open flippy.cookie. Use Oreo cookies instead of tequila or beer shots.
Beer or tequila shots, you mean?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, well, that's the giveaway.
Yeah, so all 3 of you that we mentioned, Mr. the Third, Chris the Fist,
and Max Crandell.
Max, make sure we're your first favorite podcast, okay? Look at us. We're giving you stuff. We're awesome. Send us some information, commandercookout@gmail.com. Send us your mailing address. We'll get this stuff all sent off to you with a fun holiday greeting from me and Ryan. F you all for playing. And be on the lookout for our next giveaway, which will probably start in a couple of weeks once we figure out what we're going to do.
Okay. Regular show time. Let's give our lady Sliver Queen a read, shall we?
Sliver Queen. From my other favorite set in Magic, Stronghold, Sliver Queen. White, blue, black, red, green for a 7/7 legendary Sliver. Sliver Queen counts as a Sliver. 2. Put a Sliver token into play. Treat that token as a 1/1 colorless creature.
So she's a legendary creature, Sliver, for Wooburg. 7/7. 2. Put a colorless 1/1 Sliver creature token into play.
What the hell are you even going to do with that? How is that tier 2, Ryan?
Yeah, so I guess if you go online and maybe you Google things like Sliver Queen combo, Sliver Queen EDH combo, of course you're going to get lots of Sliver tribal lists. And I think we do at least go into Sliver tribal list very briefly, because that's what this is not. If that's what you're expecting to hear, you're not going to hear it.
If you want to hear that, just put our voices in your head and go read my plain old dirty Sliver combo list on tappedout.net.
Yeah, or let us know, right? Maybe you do want to hear about it. I don't know. Maybe we do have people that want to hear about this list.
Yeah, maybe people have never actually played Sliver combo before. Maybe they don't know what it's all about. That could be a thing. If you want us to do it, send us some kind of suggestion. We'll think about it.
The only thing about Sliver.deck is that if you play Sliver Queen, Sliver Hive Lord, Sliver Overlord, Sliver Legion, which is actually really expensive now, like the other Sliver Lords, by and large, they're going to all be the same deck. Sliver Queen can be unique in that it's got this weird ability that lets you do all of these other things with it too, while playing it in a fairly control-y shell.
Correct.
And it can be quite powerful because realistically, you're running a 5-color mana base. You have XYZ thing in play that combos with Sliver Queen, and then theoretically, on turn, whatever you think you can go off on with protection, you drop Sliver Queen combo, win. So before we get into the list, though, I think we need to read the tier 2 description.
Okay.
So this is the Commander tier list on tappedout.com, the one that is managed by the Gigabeast, Sonnet 666, and Niraj ED. So that's the list. There'll be links in the show notes, of course, so you can find this. Sliver Queen, of course, is tier 2, and tier 2 is starting to get pretty small. There's not very many.
Tier 2 is described by the 3 aforementioned gentlemen as less powerful than Tier 1 decks, but still quite strong. These can definitely hold their own against Tier 1 decks. They are usually a turn slower than the Tier 1, or they have consistency problems.
Yes, consistency problems, so much so because they don't have as astute of a mana base, or they don't have as much redundancy or what have you. So there's actually 28 tier 2 lists and 26 tier 2.5 lists. And I want to almost compare the 2.5 lists to the tier 3 lists. And just for comparison, there are 138 tier 3 lists, and then tier 1 and 1.5, there's 9 and 16. So you can see how big of a drop off there is both in power level and in consistency and swinging with the big dinks.
Yeah.
Between tier 3 and tier 1, for example. And I like the comparison because they're both 5-color decks between tier 2 Sliver Queen, 5 mana to play her, and General Tazari, 5 mana to play her. Sliver Queen costs Wooburg. General Tazari costs white 4. And General Tazari searches for an ally and puts it into your hand. And then you combo with said ally.
Correct.
Right? So way easier on the mana base. You can run a way different mana base than what Sliver Queen needs for consistency purposes to drop Queen on turn 5 when you need her. And General Tazari is a tutor herself. So yes. There's a difference. There's why Sliver Queen isn't tier 1 or 1.5, for example. Yep. It's got a tougher mana base to run. It's
got a tougher mana base to get.
It's tougher to cast the commander. And the combo is itself a little bit more fragile because it takes several different cards to win, and you can't punish, or you can't run maybe as consistent of control when you're maybe, and we're going to talk about it, 15 cards, one of them's Force of Will. Those 15 cards are the only blue cards in the deck.
Yeah. Force of Will is a lot less good when she's only 10% of your deck makes it free. Force of Will sucks when you have to pay for it.
Yeah, so stuff like that. Just little things that all add up together. So let's talk about the list a little bit. We go to the Sliver Queen list on our tapped out page. 18 creatures.
This is not a creature deck.
Plus Sliver Queen, so 19.
Still not a creature list.
When we look at the 18 creatures, of course there's going to be some slivers. That goes without saying. So Brando is going to read a few of the slivers, and you're going to notice the trend. If you've never worked with slivers before, you're going to see what they do and why they are such assholes.
Let's just read some slivers real fast. Acidic Sliver, red, black, 2/2. All slivers have 2, sack, deals 2 damage to target something. Basail Sliver, black, 2, sliver creature, 2/2. All slivers have sack this creature, add black to your mana pool. Crystalline Slivers. Slivers have Shroud. Dormant Sliver. Slivers have Defender. When this creature comes into the battlefield, draw a card. Firewake Sliver. Slivers have Haste, and they are all little fires of Yavimaya. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Gemhide Sliver. All slivers tap for any color. Harmonic Sliver. Whenever a sliver comes into play, destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Heart Sliver. All slivers have Haste. Manoweb Sliver. Is a Gemhide Sliver. Only works for yours. Necrotic Sliver. All the slivers are Vindicate. That is all the slivers in the deck.
Only a few slivers, specifically chosen ones. So there's slivers like Muscle Sliver. All slivers get +1/+1. All slivers get +2/+2. All slivers have flying. All slivers get something. That's what slivers do. That's what Sliver Tribal does.
Yes.
This deck is using, let's say, Basil Sliver for sacrifice a sliver to get black. What are you going to use that black for?
Probably to make a sliver with Sliver Queen.
Yes. And then sacrifice it to get black and make another sliver with Sliver Queen?
Now, why would you ever want to do that?
You could rinse and repeat 700 million times.
What good would that even do?
You could have CCO Staples, Perforos, or Impact Tremors in play.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, so turn 2 Impact Tremors, turn 2 Basil Sliver.
Turn 3 Basil Sliver, turn 4 Sliver Queen if you're lucky.
If you got some kind of no, because
Maybe
she
not in
costs
this
5,
deck.
right? She
Maybe not in this deck.
costs 5, so you need to play her on turn 5 once you have one of each basic land type, or one of each color,
or a sliver that taps for colored mana.
You see where the hang up is.
Yes.
She's great, and there's a ton of things like that. Ashnod's Altar. Sacrifice a creature, get 2 colorless.
Which you can then use to make another one.
Yeah. What if you had something like CCO Staple Intruder Alarm in play with something like Gemhide Sliver in play?
And a Sliver Queen. You can tap Gemhide Sliver and Sliver Queen, make a creature, untap Sliver Queen, Gemhide Sliver, rinse, repeat a bazillion times.
Yes.
And there are 2 slivers in here that give haste.
Yes.
Away you go.
And if you didn't have Impact Tremors or Purphoros, you could Goblin Bombardment.
Yes, you could.
So we're getting into the deck too much. Let's go back to the recipe a little bit here.
Yes.
You can see how carried away some of these combo decks can get because you can just jam everything in.
Yes.
Instance, 15 instance. This sounds like a good 16 instance now. I must have changed the deck since I made the show notes. Okay, let's read some of them.
Okay, go through them real quick. Beast with it. Destroy a thing. Great control card. Counterspell. Cyclonic Rift. Eladomri's Call. We'll get into that one in a second. Enlightened Tutor. There's a tutor. Force of Will. We'll talk about that later on too. Intuition. We're going to talk about that card in depth in a minute.
Yeah.
Corrosion Grip. Very important. Mystical Teachings. That's a tutor. Mystical Tutor is a tutor. Pact of Negation. That's a free counterspell that you pay for later.
Yep.
Perplex. That's a counterspell and a tutor. Summoner's Pact. Tutor. Vampiric Tutor. Tutor. Void Slime will probably get punted for a different card whose name we can't remember right now, but it's also a control card, counterspell. Worldly Tutor is a
tutor.
Right.
So basically, we are looking at, for the exception of a few very pinpoint removal spells, you are looking at counterspells or tutors.
Correct.
We can see why people wouldn't want to play against this.
Yes.
You're removing a lot of the inconsistencies out of playing a Highlander one-only format like Commander by playing 10 tutors, or specifically in this deck 15 because a bunch of them are sorcery speed.
15!
Yeah, those were just the instant speed ones, FYI.
Yeah.
If we go to the sorcery section, there's 9 sorceries, sorry. So let's look at those guys.
So we got a Stare Command. That's a bunch of modes. It can destroy all artifacts, all enchantments, all creatures that cost lots, all creatures that cost very little. We got a Demonic Tutor. There's another tutor. Diabolic Intent. That's a tutor. Idyllic Tutor, obviously a tutor. Living Death, not a tutor, but another redundancy card. Maelstrom Pulse, Great Sweeper. Sky Shroud Claim, Ramp Spell. Tooth and Nail, tutor. Wargate, tutor.
Yeah, so tutors and removals.
Toot, 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 toot.
Yeah, okay. So the couple, or the one that isn't a tutor, let's talk about Living Death. Like that guy. Why? Because it acts as a sweeper, or after you get sweepered, you can get all your stuff back.
Correct. It lets somebody who's rebuilt after they sweep the board, sweeps them, and you rebuild. And you rebuilding is way more dangerous in a sliver deck than anybody else.
Very much so.
The fragility of slivers comes from the existence of cards like Wrath of God that kills them all. If you're playing something like Living Death, which is a sorcery for black 3, each player exiles all creature cards from the graveyard, sacrifices all creatures they have in play, returns all exiled creatures to the battlefield.
So essentially you're switching your graveyard and your battlefield.
Creatures in them. Correct.
Everybody does that.
Everybody does that.
So you could take advantage of that by, if your graveyard's full and their board is full, switch.
Yeah.
Right?
It's excellent.
The other thing I like about that a lot is you could let your Sliver Queen just die. Like if you play her, then she gets killed immediately because they know you're going to combo. And you don't have enough to play her again with the commander tax because this deck only runs 34 land.
It's a little low.
You could just play Living Death and get her and whoever else is in your graveyard back. Probably somebody that can combo with her.
Correct.
Because most of the slivers, or all of them, do something. And the other thing, too, is Eternal Witness is in this deck. Eternal Witness is a 2/1 for green 1. If you can kind of manipulate Eternal Witness in and out of the graveyard with Living Death, along with Sliver Queen, you get your Sliver Queen back, you get your Eternal Witness back, and then whatever went from the battlefield to the graveyard with Living Death, you can just return it to your hand with Eternal Witness and potentially cast it again as well.
Yeah, or you could get Living Death back.
Yeah, or a tutor, or a counterspell, or a whatever with Eternal Witness because it goes back to your hand.
Yeah.
You get your Sliver Queen back with your Living Death. Eternal Witness gets you your Eladamri's Call, which lets you search for a multicolored creature or a creature.
Yep.
Put it into your hand, and Bob's your uncle.
I do have an uncle named Bob.
Actually?
Yeah.
No
Two
way.
of them, actually. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I have 2 Uncle Bobs. Shout out to Uncle Bob. And shout out to Uncle Bob. They don't listen to the show.
Bobs are your uncles.
Ha!
Very excellent. Okay, so moving right along, 34 land. The tricky part about the land base, when you don't want your deck to cost 17,000 million.
Which it has to for this deck to be tier 2.
Yes, and we are definitely going to touch on that in the budget section of the deck.
Correct.
Right now, just for sake of brevity and costity, I didn't build the 10 shock, 10 fetch, 10 filter, 10 dual land dot mana base. I built 10 shocks. I did 4 or 5 fetches, 4 or 5 5-color lands like City of Brass and Mana Conflux. All 10 of the tri-lands. A mixing and matching of the appropriate amount of basics to round it out, plus a Teleria West. So Teleria West is actually a tutor for a 0-drop. It has transmute, so it comes into play tapped. You can tap it for a blue, or you can transmute it for blue 1, and it lets you discard it and search your library for a card with a converted mana cost of 0. That could be the missing land that you need to cast your Sliver Queen, but it could also be your Summoner's Pact, which is a 0-drop tutor that you have to pay for later or lose the game. And that tutor, cast for free, searches for the creature that you need to win the game with Sliver Queen.
Right.
So you can build redundancy right into your utility lands. What do we say?
Get your utility lands, kids.
Absolutely. And that card costs like $4.
Which is a lot better than a tropical island at like $204.
Yes, very much. I wonder what my foil Portuguese one is.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
But the ideal land base for this would probably be 10 fetch, 10 dual, 5 filter, a couple of shocks, 2 of each basic minus mountain.
Yeah,
you don't need mountain.
Like that. You probably got the least. You probably want the most blue and green and the least red and white. As black is where most of your tutors live, and they're pretty cheap. So you want to be able to cast those early on in the game to get your setup to play your thing that you search for, so you can drop your Sliver Queen immediately and win.
Right.
Or ASAP and win. Turn 4, 5, or 6.
Yes, and tap lands are hard for that. So
very much so.
But you can kind of focus less on mountain, and it will basic mountain and swamp, because you are playing an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth.
Yep.
That makes all of your lands into swamps. And mountains, the only reason you play basics in these decks really is to avoid Ruination and Blood Moon.
Yeah, because those are kind of staples in the tier 2 and tier 1, depending on who you're sitting across. If you're playing one of those tier 1.5 like blue, red, black, or red, black based control decks, they're going to run that kind of stuff to purposely keep the 3, 4, 5 color decks off base.
Yeah, so
right?
you got to have a couple of basics, but I mean, red and black are kind of your least of your worries in that situation.
Now, the only other thing I want to say about the lands before we talk about it again in the budget section is this being a turn, let's say turn 5 or 6 combo deck. You do have some time if you have to drop 1 or 2 lands in your first 6 turns that come into play tapped.
Yes.
You probably do have time for that.
Yes. Ideally, you don't want to have to do that, but of course, not everybody can go out and buy 10 shock, 10 dual, 10.
Yeah, particularly when you have things like Mana Conflux, City of Brass, and Command Tower.
Yeah, Command Tower is a good one.
Those are the 5-color anything lands, right?
You can play what
is like that.
Is
Reflecting Pool, Exotic Orchard. Yeah, so we're going to talk about those in a sec as well. Moving on, artifacts, 13.
13 of them. I see right on the top of the list. Love this card.
That's a CCO Brando favorite right there.
Altar of the Brood. Artifact for 1 whenever another permanent comes into play under your control. All your opponents mill 1.
So, brings us to kind of our first win condition. I know we said Perforos, Impact, Tremors, and Goblin Bombardment, but we always talk about those. We've talked about Altar of the Brood a couple times. I like it because it costs 1. You get it out of the way as soon as possible.
Yep, it's the first thing you play. Everything after that contributes to your victory. The only thing that stops you in that case is an Eldrazi Titan.
Or, we'll talk about that in a second, if you want to hold that, sandbag the Altar of the Brood, and get all the other combos set up and say, oh yeah, here's the thing, I can't do anything, da-da-da-da-da, with your 1 mana open.
Yep.
Drop it, win.
Altar of the Brood, suckers.
Yeah. Now, Eldrazi Titan, if you have instant speed, make a dude, like you do with Sliver Queen.
Right.
Dude comes into play, something happens, something mills them, something. If you can, in response, make instant speed dudes again to mill them before their Eldrazi Titan trigger goes on the stack till their library's empty, then instant speed make them draw a card. We like that.
So why aren't we playing Temple Bell in this deck?
We could.
I would play Temple Bell.
There's a couple options, actually, and that's what I wanted to leave open-ended for yourself or CCO Nation. You could play something like Temple Bell. You could play something like Mikukoro, Center of the Sea, or Gaia Reach Sanitarium that makes everybody draw a card.
All those things are very important, and 2 of them are land.
Yep.
Which are excellent.
But they are colorless land.
Yes.
And Temple Bell doesn't do anything else because there are some notable excludes out of this deck in that we're not playing Paradox Engine, which is a very, very staple card in the Tier 1 and 1.5 lists.
Yes.
Paradox Engine is an artifact for 5. Whenever you cast a spell, untap all other non-land permanents. Paradox Engine can combo with Temple Bell when you can recast something over and over again, like Dramatic Reversal on an Isochron Scepter, or whatever you want to name with Isochron Scepter and Paradox Engine. That's a Tier 1 or 1.5 combo. But because Sliver Queen is a activated ability, it doesn't trigger Paradox Engine, so you don't get to untap your Temple Bell.
That's why we play Intruder Alarm.
That's why we play Intruder Alarm.
Yep.
We like that too. Yeah. Okay. Other artifacts. What of note do you see?
Got an Ashnod's Altar. Sack dudes make 2. Why would you ever need that? We've got a Pillar of Origins.
Yeah.
I like that card.
That's a new guy.
Yeah, artifact for 2. When it comes into play, pick a creature type, tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Use it only to play creatures of the chosen type.
So risk reward, right? Because there are lots of non-sliver things in here. But if you want to drop that specifically with the intent to play the slivers that you want to play and do it quicker than turn 3 mana rock for any color, it's going to let you do it.
It speeds you up. It's a good rock in this one. I like this one. I like that include.
I like that one. 22 cents.
And it costs less than a Commander Sphere. Like, mana cost-wise.
Yeah. And Commander Sphere, of course, goes in this deck because it does give you one of any color, and you sack it whenever the heck you want for a draw card.
Yes, replaces itself. Very good. We got a Coalition Relic. It also makes mana of any color. What else we got? We got a Heartstone. Makes your activated abilities of your slivers cost 1 less.
Yes.
That is relevant.
So that makes your Sliver Queen make 1/1s for 1, and your other slivers that get abilities that say 2, this sliver does something, now cost 1.
We're at Douchebag Knowledge Pool. We'll talk about him in a minute.
Brando yawned as he said that. That wasn't on purpose, I don't think.
That was not on purpose, but it's Knowledge Pool, so it's worth a yawn. We also play Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Sol Ring, Skull Clamp, Sensei's Divining Top. It's combo deck.
Yeah, I like me some Skull Clamp with Sliver Queen.
Me too.
Yeah, you just draw your whole deck. Then it doesn't matter how many tutors you play because they're all in your hand.
Exactly.
Planeswalkers, none.
They don't need Planeswalkers for. We got slivers.
There is a Tier 1 Planeswalker deck.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
But they're not playing slivers.
No, they're not.
If there was a Sliver Planeswalker, what would it do? On the spot. CCO Nation. Sliver Planeswalker. Build it for us.
Oh,
Send
yeah.
it in.
What would it do? What colors would it be? All 5?
All 5.
Would it be?
Yes.
Oh, that would be
Sliver Queen the
one to
Transcendent. 5-color Planeswalker. It's got 3 abilities. What are the abilities?
Ooh.
I don't know what they are. You guys tell us.
It's too bad we didn't make CCO Nation do that for a giveaway. Oh, did I just put my foot in my mouth?
Yes.
Shit.
New giveaway.
Dang it.
There we go.
New giveaway.
This on the side. If anybody sends us in a sweet Sliver Queen Planeswalker, we'll send you something. We don't know what it is. We'll send you something.
Yeah, too bad we couldn't send like beer.
Yeah, hey?
Yeah.
Or if Sliver Queens weren't so goddamn expensive, we could send them one of those, but I'm not giving mine up. They cost too much money.
Yeah, they're like $44.
Yeah, it's too much.
F that.
Yeah.
Card draw spells. 4.
It's not very many.
Not at all, but when you have 15 tutors, do you need to draw any card when you can get any card?
No.
Do you think that's correct?
Yes. We're playing 15 tutors.
15 tutors, you're going to have a very good chance to see one turns 1 through 4 when you're going to want to play a tutor to find you what's going to win with Sliver Queen, right?
And look at combo decks like this where all of the combos only need 2 cards or 2 cards and Sliver Queen. 2 tutors means you win the game. Who cares if you drew cards? Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
if you have 2
I guess
cards
that's
in
right.
your hand and both of them are your combo pieces and then you draw a piece of protection for them, you win the game.
Yeah. You know what's
Always
difficult
do that.
about these, and Animar is like this as well. I go back to Animar because it's my combo deck that I run. The tutors that are specific for something, like you draw the tutor that finds you an enchantment. Okay, how do I win with what's in my hand and on the board with an enchantment that I'm going to find with Idyllic Tutor? You know what I mean?
Right.
You could. We didn't talk about enchantments. Can we back up a little bit?
Yeah, let's
There's
do some
9 of them.
enchantments.
Sorry, 10 of them. I think a couple of them, while they are typical Sliver and or Sliver Queen and or combo includes, they're very cool.
Yes, we got Cryptolith Right. I love this card.
Yeah.
Makes all of your creatures tap for... It turns all of your creatures into Birds of Paradise, basically.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Or
They
it
tap
turns all your creatures into
Gemhide Sliver.
in this deck.
Yeah, they tap for mana of any color. We got Goblin Bombardment, sack a dude, do a damage. Impact Tremors, permanent. Creature comes into play, 1 damage to all your opponents. Intruder Alarm, creatures don't untap. Whenever a creature comes into play, untap all creatures.
How about just nobody plays creatures and keep the biggest thing on the board tapped? Is it a control card? No, it's a combo card.
I have done that.
I think so,
I
yeah,
actually
I
have
think
done
so.
that. It's a thing. Because it's not like I don't untap my stuff too. We got Mana Echoes. We talked about that way back in episode 0 for Zada. Mana Echoes is an enchantment for 2 red. Whenever a creature comes into play, you add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool for each creature that shares a type with it. Not just that you control, but period. So that's very cool. So it makes basically...
So essentially, if you have 1 sliver, you tap your native lands for...
2, it makes a sliver. Then you add 2 mana to your mana pool that you then use to make a creature to give you 3, which you then tap to give you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, infinite mana.
Yeah, infinite mana.
Then we have Mana Reflection, doubles all mana. Mirari's Wake gives your creatures +1/+1, makes your land tap for an additional 1. Phyrexian Arena, that gets you drawing more cards. Survival of the Fittest is another tutor.
It's a nightmare of a card.
Oh, baby. Survival of the Fittest, banned in Legacy because it broke fucking Legacy. 1, green. Choose and discard a creature card. Search your library for a creature card. Reveal it, put it into your hand. I can't see how that could be awful.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yes, I can. And the last one, we have Training Grounds. Training Ground is a blue enchantment for 1 blue. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. So it makes Sliver Queen's ability free.
Yeah, and it does nothing else other than the couple fiddly little things you get from slivers, which is great. The point is, if you find your Idyllic Tutor, how do you win? While you get your Training Grounds. And it makes, you know what? Yeah, Acidic Sliver. It makes his ability to sack a sliver to deal 2 damage. I guess you find your Acidic Sliver when you have your Training Grounds. You cast your Sliver Queen, get 1 billion slivers for free, cast your Acidic Sliver, sack them all to deal 2 damage. So you don't even need any of those other enchantments, the mana doublers and the impact tremors and stuff. No, you just search for creatures.
Yeah. Get shocked.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Now
that was horrible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm fired.
You know what's funny? In a 5-color deck, you search for Teferi and Acidic Sliver with your Tooth and Nail. Newsflash, this deck also runs Kiki Jiki and Pestermite.
Oh, we're such pieces of shit.
How awesome would it be if you're like, okay, Tooth and Nail, you flip through your deck, Kiki Jiki, Pestermite, and then as people start scooping up their cards and you're like, okay, I'm throw them over your shoulder. I'm not actually going to search for those. I'm going to search for Teferi and Acidic Sliver. You lose. That's what I'm going to do. When we talk about card draw and we see, moving back forward again, when we talk about card draw and see that there's only 4 card draw things, then we look at enchantments and see tutors, instants, tutors, sorceries, tutors, lands, tutors.
Tutor.
Yeah, I don't know if 4 card draw is really that bad. Targeted removal, though, including the slivers and the goblin bombardments, 11.
Pretty good.
That's good.
Very stable.
Goblin bombardment, of course, and acidic sliver being win cons as well. Mass removal, cyclonic rift, knowledge pool. Do we count knowledge pool? I
don't think so.
And living death. I think we count that.
Living death, definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
So, I mean, that's 2. Knowledge pool, let's give a read because it's a fairly underplayed card.
As it goddamn should be. Knowledge Pool is an artifact for 6 with imprint. When Knowledge Pool enters the battlefield, each player exiles the top card of his or her library. Period. New paragraph. Whenever a player casts a spell from his or her hand, that player exiles it. If the player does, he or she may cast a spell already exiled with Knowledge Pool without paying its mana cost.
Okay, so couple things. When you pair that with Teferi, Mage of Zalfir.
Teferi, Mage of Zalfir is a 3/4 for 2 blue. You got Flash. Creature cards you own that aren't in play also have Flash. Each opponent can only play spells any times he or she could play a sorcery.
So, you can only play spells during a sorcery. When you play a spell using Knowledge Pool's second ability, you're casting the spell while another effect is resolving, which is only a time that you could play an instant at. So Teferi stops you from doing that. So you can't play anything.
Ever.
It's a hard lock, and it's a tier 1 hard lock, really. It fits into this deck other than Teferi costs blue, which is very hard on this, let's call it budget mana base.
Sure.
So it could be a cut. And if you don't have Teferi out and you play Knowledge Pool and one of your slivers goes into the pool, somebody else can steal it.
Which is not good.
They have a sliver. And remember, all slivers have the ability that all slivers give them.
Correct. The danger of playing slivers always has been running into somebody else that's playing slivers.
Or somebody that's got clone.deck or stealyourshit.deck, right?
Yep.
So
all your hard work is for shit.
It's a little bit loose to include Teferi Knowledge Pool, but because it's so powerful, I thought, hey, why not?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And it gives us an opportunity to talk about it ahead of the tier 1 list that I'm sure our guest presenter will probably include it.
I don't think you will.
You don't think you will?
We'll just tell him not to. I mean,
that guy.
We talked about, F that guy. We talked about Dramatic Reversal, Isochron Scepter. We talked about Paradox Engine. We talked about Teferi Knowledge Pool. Planeswalker tier 1. That is the Teferi Planeswalker.
Right.
You pair them with the Chain Veil and a mana rock to give you infinite mana and then dig down infinite deep until you find your combo piece. Could be Temple Bell, Mind Over Matter, for example.
Of course it is.
Right? So, that's a deck already that we don't have to cover anymore.
Yay!
And there are non-blue tier 1 decks.
The easy ones to talk about are just blue because it's like card win.
Yeah. Well, moving on. If
so
you don't, I thought counting Knowledge Pool as a mass removal would be a thing because whenever anybody tries to play something, they don't actually get what they want it to get.
That's more chaosy stuff. And if there's a better creature that gets removed with Knowledge Pool, you could hypothetically get a World Spine Worm when you play something, right?
Yeah, cast my World Spine Worm, goes into the pool. Cast my Plague Mirror with a Santa hat on it.
Yeah.
That's what I painted, FYI.
Yes.
Get your World Spine Worm?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Big CCO salute to you.
Yeah, moving on. Ramp spells. 4.
It feels like you should have more ramp spells, but in a deck like this, the ones you play are very limited. You can only play stuff that finds stuff with a basic land type, i.e. Sky Shroud Claim. Find something that's got a forest type. Things that find you basic lands aren't good enough. They don't make the cut. Cultivate isn't good enough to be in a competitive level sliver deck.
I like that.
It's in my sliver deck just because mine is a little bit more
lots of these commander staple cards like Cultivate and Kadama's Reach might not be good enough to put in tier 2 or 1.
Yeah, they don't make the cut. Like a Farseek might.
Well, yeah, Farseek's good. It costs 2 and it searches for a basic land type.
Yeah, anything that isn't a forest.
Yeah, so you could find your Bayou because you search for a swamp.
Exactly.
With your Farseek.
Correct. Or there's the one that just finds you any land and puts it into your hand. I forget which one that is.
Sylvan Scrying.
Yeah, like you could play all of those. Those ones, they're good.
The trick about those is, they cost 2, but they only get you 1 land. Where Cultivate, Kadama's Reach, Sky Shroud Claim, Explosive Veg, those all get you 2.
Correct.
But they got to be basics.
Yeah, but you gotta get your color fixing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So you either got to have that bazillion-dollar land base, or you got to go nuts to the wind and hope you can make it because you're wasting.
I love going nuts to the wind.
You're wasting spots if you're playing Kadama's Reach in most cases.
Yeah, that's not a control card or a tutor, right? Mana Rocks and Dorks. Here we go though. 12. 14 if you include Hearthstone and Training Grounds because they are so instrumental in your combo.
Excellent.
And I think you use them for a mana reducer. So I think it counts as a rock, doesn't it?
You could soft count them, I guess, yeah.
Soft count them.
Soft count.
Yeah, they count as 0.5 each.
Yes.
Yeah. Dorks. We talked about the mana Dork Slivers, Gemhide, and what's the new one called?
Mana Heft.
Mana Heft.
Heft.
Why are you saying Heft like that?
Why am I saying Heft what way?
Heft way.
I hate the fact that I just said that. I'm sorry, everybody.
We just put that on the internet. We are just the worst kind of people.
Yeah, F us.
Okay, in terms of rocks, I guess we kind of covered them in the artifact section because they all were lumped into the
artifacts we're playing.
Artifacts that we're playing section, I guess. So, how to play? We talked about it a little bit, but ultimately, I mean, you want to aim for a turn 5 and win Sliver Queen.
Yes.
Turn 5, Sliver Queen, turn 6, win with backup. If you're convinced that you don't need backup on turn 5 and you try and win, good on you. If you have turn 6 backup, even better, by way of Counterspell, Pact of Negation, the aforementioned Force of Will.
Force of Will.
So we've got including Force of Will, 15 blue cards. Brando says that's not enough, but I say, what do we cut if we want to play it? Because obviously it's a very powerful card. We might want to play it.
Well, you always want to play Force of Will, but can you consistently?
Yeah.
Because you have your blue pool, and you look at them, and yeah, sometimes you just need to counter that spell, but some of those other spells win you the game. One of them prevents you from having something taken away from you right now. The other one makes you win the game. Like
Intruder Alarm you're talking
Intruder Alarm, Intuition. Both of those cards make you win.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Let's give Intuition a read, because that's a good little tutor.
Intuition. Instant. 2 and a blue. Search your library for any 3 cards, reveal them to target opponent. He or she picks one of them, put that card into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. So you find 3 redundant win conditions, you get one of them.
3 things that will win you the game, you keep one of them. Or if you need a specific one, you search for, because there's 2 of most things in the deck. Like when you look at Hearthstone and Training Grounds, search for Hearthstone, Training Grounds, Eternal Witness.
There you go.
Or search for Mana Heft, Gemhide, and Eternal Witness.
Goblin Bombard. Impact Tremors, Altar of the Brood.
Perforos.
Is
Perforos in
the Perforos isn't in here. So you'd find
right.
Altar of the Brood, Impact Tremors, and Eternal Witness.
Yeah, or Goblin Bombardment.
Yeah.
Right? So Intuition's cool, right? And I mean, it's blue, 15 blue cards. At what point do you say, okay, I'm going to abandon some of the other strategies and play more blue? I'm going to tweak the mana base, play more blue.
You could do that.
You add some card draw. You take out the things like the Knowledge Pool Teferi lock, and I know Teferi is blue, but you put in something that's easier to cast, less blue mana symbols, and then you add something that's blue instead of Knowledge Pool. You just add a blue here, a blue there, a blue here, a blue there, and then all of a sudden you've got 20 to 25 blue cards. Now you're playing a deck that can reliably cast Force of Will for free.
Which is good, but in this list, we are not.
That's right.
In this list, we're playing, I'm going to say 12 discardable blue cards, and that's not enough. I don't think to play. I think there will be situations in this case where you're going to have to pay 5 goddamn mana for Force of Will, and that makes Force of Will a piece of crap.
Yes. Now, interesting story. I have seen somebody with a Sensei's Divining Top and Counterbalance in play. Counterbalance is an enchantment for blue-blue. When an opponent casts a spell, reveal the top card of your library. If the card you reveal matches in converted mana cost with the spell being cast, counter that spell. I have seen somebody go Sensei's Divining Top, remix my top 3, counter your 2-drop. And then they go, oh, okay, play my 5-drop. Okay. Player 1 goes, okay, Brainstorm, draw, put back, and then Counterbalance, revealing Force of Will, countering a 5-drop.
Ooh!
Yeah, I have seen that.
That's legit.
Super sick.
We could play Counterbalance in this deck.
I like Counterbalance in this deck because we're already playing top.
Yeah, we could cut Knowledge Pool and put in Counterbalance.
Counterbalance, yeah.
Because I would argue that while it's really powerful, Knowledge Pool is outside the curve. Too high, and it requires a card that costs blue too.
And risk.
Yeah.
We could keep the blue Teferi because, I mean, not terrible. He doesn't let your opponents cast instants.
Yeah, that's very good.
That's good when you're starting to get into these pretty tuned competitive decks. They all run instants. They all run removal. They all run instant speed win.
Yep.
They all, you know what I mean? So, not terrible.
Not at all.
Okay. If we did cast Force of Will.
Cut it?
If we did cut Force of Will on the spot, not as a Sliver player, but as a competitive Magic player in an EDH setting, what do you put it in?
Counterbalance.
Besides that,
we're
cutting Knowledge Pool for Counterbalance.
Isochron Scepter.
Ooh.
In this deck, I would play Isochron Scepter because we have enough 2-drop or less instant speed tutors that we could just get tutors.
How many tutors in a row do you need to cast though
2.
to win?
If you only have 1 in your hand, Isochron Scepter gives you 2.
Isochron Scepter acts as tutor number 16.
Yeah.
In which case you could say we could play the dramatic reversal example I gave earlier.
Yes, and we could play that too.
We could do that. Okay. So I guess you know enough about how to play the deck now because we talked about all of or a bunch of the individual combos and sequences and blah, blah, blah. Strengths and weaknesses? Weaknesses. What do you want to start with?
Let's go with strengths.
Strengths. Let's call it a fast combo deck. And by what I mean by fast is the turn you get your combo is usually the turn you win. Yes. I suppose that's true of all combos.
Not all. But this is a very fast deck. You could turn 4 somebody on this while playing Sliver Queen on turn 4. Again, with a nut draw. You could do it.
I suppose, yeah, there's enough rocks in here that you could turn 4 Sliver Queen somebody with extra mana left over.
Yeah, and you only need 2 other things.
Remember, when we look back at the tier description, less consistent, meaning we're not going to get that turn 4 Sliver Queen every game.
You're going to have that wildly swinging, because you're going to have the nut draw turn 4, all y'all eat shit, but you're also going to have the turn 8.
Where's my planes?
I'm running 16 tutors. Why haven't I drawn one?
Or turn slower. You get your nut draw. You tune and tweak the deck so you can get your nut draw Sliver Queen turn 4 really high percentage of the time. Turn 4, good. Everybody's happy. Tier 1 deck's going to beat you on turn 3. So,
DC's going to roll along and just beat you on turn 2, and all that stuff doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. Right. So there's your strength and your weakness rolled into the speed of the deck and why it's not a tier 1 with all of these very easy combos to find and to execute.
Yeah, just talking about like my Sidisi list, which isn't super tuned turn 2, even though it does win on turn 2.
It's a Hermit Druid deck, right?
Yep. Yeah, all of the protection that you're running in this deck to protect your combo, I run in mine too. And I'll bet you most of the tier 1s run this kind of protection for the combo package. The difference being my thing costs green 1, yours costs Wooburg.
Plus.
And more.
Yeah, Wooburg plus whatever. Wooburg plus another card.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that goes back to the General Tazri example as well. They both cost 5. Tazri costs white 4.
Yeah.
Way easier when you just mana rock, Tazri, search, win.
If you could play shitty Ant Queen, or shitty Sliver Queen, which is Ant Queen, instead, and still have this same kind of play, you'd have a really amazing deck.
Yeah.
But, nope.
Mind you, Ant Queen costs 6 to cast.
Isn't she 5? She's 5.
5?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Green 3.
Yeah, that's right. Another strength. Can beat you in several different ways.
Lots of different ways. It doesn't have to target you. It doesn't have to attack your life total. It doesn't necessarily have to attack your deck.
ETB with Impact Tremors.
Yep.
Mill with Alter the Brood. You could attack.
Yeah, it also never underestimate the power of having Infinity Vindicates.
Yeah.
Infinity Vindicates will win you the game. Every single time it happens.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Every time.
Yeah, I like that.
It doesn't matter what your combo is at that point. If you're swinging with 2/1/1s every turn, if you have infinite Vindicates, you're winning that game.
All of the shortcomings aside, you are looking at a fairly consistent deck. That's the last strength I'm going to highlight because you've got tutors and redundancies coming out of your ass.
Oh, yeah.
Just the intuition example is a good one. Yeah. And then looking at all of the other tutors as well. And then looking at how easy it is to execute the combo. You know the combo decks that take the whole deck. We've talked about these before. It takes a 20-minute turn, blah, 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 right? At the end of the night, we're playing the last night of the game, last game of the night, the other night when we were playing all real decks. You're all half in the bag, you're tired, but you want to play real decks.
Yeah.
It's so much easier and more fun for somebody just to play the whole game and then force through a combo and win just like that, as opposed to playing a 20-minute turn when everybody wants to leave.
Yes, even though some of those real game turns can take a while. This one, I think another strength you could add, outside the game maybe, depending on your play group, is when this deck is going to win, it's super easy to figure out how it's going to win.
Yeah, you're just going to win.
You go tooth and nail, do I win? And everybody will say, somebody will say counterspell or yes. They'll either show you a counterspell or they'll show you a volcanic fallout, and then you can move on.
Yeah. You go tooth and nail, do I win? They go, no, counterspell. You go pact and negation because I'm going to win. I don't need to pay the extra next turn.
Yes.
Right? I think
it's one of those.
Okay, weaknesses. Not your typical weaknesses, I think. We're at the point where normal weaknesses are just, they're not a thing anymore.
No.
Right? Because when you're looking at a weakness like, oh, I can't win on turn 4 compared to a tier 1 deck.
Yeah.
That's a weakness.
I win on turn 5 too much.
Yeah.
What the hell? What are you complaining about?
You go to just your buddy's basement, or you go and play at Mana Bar or wherever. I win at turn 5 too much. Nobody wants to play with me. I'm too fast. Right? That's not good enough now. Yeah. I win at turn 4 is too slow. So that's what this deck is going to fall apart to. The smallest crack in the armor on these tier 2 decks is what keeps them out of tier 1.
Yes, and they all have cracks. In this case, it is the Wooburg casting cost of the commander, I would argue, is the big, the uplift you have access to every card in Magic. The downside, you have to pay one of each color to play your commander.
Yep, and if you don't have the budget, and I hate to bring this into the weakness of the deck, but if you don't have the money to spend on the mana base or the collection to support the mana base,
don't bother.
That's going to be a weakness, because then that moves your turn 5 kill to turn 6 or turn 7.
And that's way too slow. That's regular Commander game.
That's regular Commander.
Yeah, and if you're going to do that, then you look at my other list, you play Sliver Overlord. Because that one
Who's also expensive now.
Is he?
They're all expensive.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Where are we going?
Card of the week.
I think Perplex. Perplex. Instant from Ravnica. Black-blue 1. Counter target spell unless its controller discards a card.
Discards their hand.
What?
Discards their whole hand.
Wow, even better.
Yes.
Discards their hand. I was going to say, it's easy to cast it with no cards in opponent's hand. They have nothing to discard.
This actually sucks when you cast it with no cards in their hand, because they'll say, okay.
Yeah. Opponent has 6 cards in hand. Discard them all.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't want to counterspell, I like it because it's actually got transmute as well. Black, blue, 1, transmute. Search for a card with converted mana cost 3.
Which could be a tutor, or your intruder alarm,
or a sliver.
Or a sliver that gets you there. That's your Basel sliver. Firewake sliver if you're on the aggro plan. You can also find a Pestermite if you have a Kiki-Jiki in your hand.
So it finds you all kinds of 3-drops. I think 3 is the most important slot in this deck, other than Wooburg.
Yes.
Wooburg is in its own slot, though, because that's your commander.
Correct.
So we like that guy. And how much does it cost?
Honestly, if you go to a store and somebody tries to charge you money for Perplex, don't go to that store anymore. Online, it'll cost you 50 cents.
Yeah.
But real life, just come to my house, I'll give you one.
Very excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, getting into the budget of the deck. Now, we, of course, beat the land base to death already, but let's look at some of the numbers. After the deck that we have in Tapped Out here, you're going to see it's $1,000, almost right on the money, which is crazy to think because it's not including any dual lands. You know those $25, $26, $3,000 decks, it's because they're running a bunch of dual lands.
Yes.
We're $1,000 and we're not.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if you had 10 more cards that all value $100 or more. I don't think it's fair for us to talk about that to our listeners and say, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and roll out some other ideas and give you some other examples. So we are running 10 shocks at an average of, let's say, $10 a piece. That's $100.
That's way less than the $1,500 for a set of shocks.
Very much.
Yeah.
I'm running 4 or 5 fetches. I think it's enough based on the dragon deck that I play as a 5-color deck with what I consider to be a budget mana base. Yep. I don't think I'm running any duels in it.
There you go.
4 to 5 fetches, depending on which ones they are, they're going to be between $25 and $40 a piece. I put mine in this deck at 30 a piece. That's $120 to $150.
Yep.
But if you play Modern, if you were playing during Khans block or Zendikar block, maybe you have a lot of these already.
Yeah, fetch lands, I think they cost a lot of money, but I don't think they're actually that hard to come by.
I don't think, and shock lands too, right?
Yeah, I don't not draw time talk for me. I have the worst luck opening boxes.
No,
I opened one Khans box and I got 8 fetches in it.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I finished off my whole play set of fetch lands opening 1 box of Khans.
Very excellent.
Just with some trades and what I opened naturally. It was
sweet,
insane.
So, I mean, you're going to have them, get them, run them. They're great. 5-color lands. Let's talk about some of these. We said Command Tower. We said City of Brass, Mana Conflux. Those are kind of the same. You tap them and lose a life and get 1 of any color.
Exotic Orchard, it taps for any color your opponents can tap for.
Or is that Reflecting Pool?
That's Reflecting Pool, sorry. What's exotic?
Exotic Orchard gives you your opponent a 1/1.
That's Forbidden Orchard.
You're right. Exotic Orchard is one that your opponents control.
Yeah, there we go. So Forbidden Orchard, Reflecting Pool. Taps for any color your opponent can make.
Reflecting Pool is one that you control.
Yes.
We are so terrible at Magic.
Yeah, we're the worst. But either way, you want to play all of those anyway.
Yeah.
Because 1 City of Brass on your side, 1 big-time colored mana out there. If they have like a Vivid Land, we could play Vivid Lands in this deck too.
I don't know if do we play Vivid Lands or Tri-Lands. Maybe we play Vivid Lands because they do give you 1 of any color, and you only need 1 of any color 1 time.
I would play the Vivid Lands just because we play Reflecting Pool. Because Reflecting Pool will then tap for any color.
And the Vivid Lands are dirt-ass cheap.
Yep. Vivid Creek, Reflecting Pool. You now have access to any 2 colors of mana on your turn. That's very cool.
And Reflecting Pool is $10. What's the new one from Is it Amonkhet, the one where you tap 1 and it to get Wooburg?
No, you have to attack like 4 in it. Or
No,
5 in
it's
it,
1 and it for 5 mana. So you tap 6 land. Yes, fine. But you're going to get Wooburg to cast your Sliver Queen.
You could, or what is that? Gemstone Mine also? Not Gemstone Mine.
Gemstone Mine would do it.
Yeah, there's
I like
another,
Gemstone Mine, yeah.
There's a couple of lands that'll, it's like tap a bunch and it make Wooburg.
Tendo Ice Bridge, there's another one.
They're too slow though. They're not good enough in these decks.
Yeah, I suppose. I'm just throwing out ones that
tapping
tap
6
for
to
any
get
color.
5, not good enough. Just not good enough. So like yeah, land is a big thing. Budget's in here. Tapped Out's giving us crap, so we can't give you an accurate number of cards, but there are at least 18 cards in this deck that cost between $20 and $100.
And you know what another one of them is that we think is a little bit outdated is Palancron. Granted, it does give you infinite mana, so you can make infinite slivers. Great. With your 5-color mana base, you can make infinite mana of any color for Sliver Queen as well.
Yep.
So, cool. You need Mana Reflection, which is like $20, and Mirari's Wake, which is $10 to do that. And I don't know if that has a place in this deck, both for budget purposes and for average converted mana cost purposes.
Yep.
And Mirari's Wake is a non-bow with Skull Clamp.
Correct.
So you can't clamp your 1/1s if you got a Mirari's Wake because now they're all 2/2s.
Yeah, Mirari's Wake should only be in there for the mana purposes. The making your dudes bigger is either irrelevant or hurts you.
Yeah. So maybe maybe Palancron, Mana Reflection, and Mirari's Wake all get cut.
Yep, you could cut. Well, you could cut them for things that care about X. I suggested earlier before we went on the air, Comet Storm.
Comet Storm, I like that instead of Palancron.
It just
Comet Storm's dirt ass cheap. Palancron's $21.
and Comet Storm with infinite mana immediately just wins you the game.
Yep, and because it's an instant.
Yep, it's very good.
Definitely like that. Maybe now that Iconic Masters is out, you can get a mana drain for this deck. Put Mana Drain in there instead of Palancron or one of those mana doublers, right?
Not a budget include though.
It can't be that expensive anymore. I guess it's still $75.
It turns out those Masters sets really don't affect prices as much as they say.
It'll go down. It used to be like $100. It'll go down. And you know what? When you sell your Mana Reflection and your Palancron and your Mirari's Wake, you could buy a Mana Drain with that money.
That's true.
That's another blue card for your Force of Will to stay in.
I guess.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Of course, we're cutting a Palancron, which is also blue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, Milk List?
Milk List.
Okay, as per EDHREC.com, these are the most popular cards per converted mana cost in the color combination that we're talking about. This week, Wooburg. So at the 0-drop slot, Mana Crypt.
We do have one.
Sol Ring.
Yep.
2-drop, Demonic Tutor.
Yep.
3-drop, Chromatic Lantern.
No.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Oh, no, there it is. There it is.
One.
God damn, there it is.
4-drop slots. I suck at Milk List today. Wrath of God.
No.
Mirari's Wake at 5.
That one we play.
Yes. Teneb the Harvester. Weird. At 6.
No, that's a dragon deck thing.
Yeah, that's the first Milk List Teneb ever. Atarka World Render at 7.
No.
Nicol Bolas Planeswalker at 8.
Nope.
Bringer of the Black Dawn at 9.
Obviously
These
not.
are so awesome. We've never done a Wooburg Milk List before. Dragon Tyrant at 10.
Nope.
Ulamog Infinite Guy at 11.
Nope.
It That Betrays at 12.
Nope.
Emrakul the Promised End 13.
Nope.
Dinkmouth Infusion.
No.
A Tokthon Worm at 15.
Stop playing that card, Internet.
Draco at 16.
No.
5 Milk List matches. I thought that we were going to be effed on it because the start of it was so many of the same.
Well, all of those low mana cost ramp things, right? It's like what we talked about last week.
Those are all competitive.
First couple of turns, you got to bang out that
yeah,
ramp.
Yeah. Then a bunch of dragons, and then a bunch of the regular stuff.
That's
and then
almost like people played dragons.
Dinkmouth Infusion. I hate that.
Oh, I hate those cards.
Okay, so 5 matches, not bad. Spicy Calculator.
Spicy Calculator.
So Mistform Queen, Sliver Queen, is the 12th most popular Wooburg general, right after already Your Dragon and Ramos Dragon Engine.
And also another dragon in Chromat, and also Scion of the Ur-Dragon, who is the most popular Wooburg commander.
Yeah, now, in front of her also is Sliver Overlord. That's your Sliver commander.
That's my boy.
Yeah.
We also have a couple other guys who we've talked about lots. General Tazari, Reaper King, Horde of Notions, Corona the False God, all things that I've either built or am in the process of building.
Ooh, and then right behind Sliver Queen on EDHREC.com is Sliver Hive Lord.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's a new one, right? M15 or something?
Yeah, he's M15, I believe.
And he's a
yes.
5/5 only.
That's because he's indestructible.
I suppose. The other ones are all 7/7s, right?
Yep.
Legion. See, there's Legion. He's $50.
And he's the least popular Wooburg commander.
Oh, look at that.
F you, Evan. You picked the wrong one.
Yep, and just F you anyways. Okay, Spicy Calculator. 439 lists for Sliver Queen.
Surprisingly low for such a powerful commander.
Yeah, for sure. Well, everybody wants to build slivers. Everybody wants to make Hive or Overlord, right?
Yep.
Okay, average converted mana cost. Now, here's where we start to get competitive. 2.94.
Kaboom.
Yeah, for sure. And you're going to see that in the Tier 1 and 1.5 decks next week is like far below 3.
Yes.
And like 30 lands. There's some of those Tier 1 lists that play 28 lands.
Oh.
So sick. Critical turn. I say 5. Do you think 4?
I would say 4.
Do you think we got enough ramp in there to say 4?
We're competitive enough, or it better damn well be 4.
It's got to be 4 or else you lose. Okay.
It's 4, it's not good enough.
Okay. Optimal game size 4. I think that all of the Tier 1 and 2 decks are tuned for 4 players.
Yes, I agree.
That's what it is. That's what Commander is, by and large. That's what the standard kind of game was invented to be.
And we're moving away from what we're usually talking about, which is game variance, different game experience, and as you can see with all the tutors, we're moving directly into, here's what I'm doing, here's how I'm doing it, you lose.
Correct. Uniqueness rating. I like this one because when you look at the stock list on EDHREC.com, you are going to see
Sliver Tribal.
What looks like Sliver Tribal, but you are also going to see some weird cards that don't go in Sliver Tribal if Sliver Tribal is Sliver Overlord or Hive Lord or whatever, right? You're going to see weird things that are specific to Sliver Queen. Brando's looking at it right now. He's seeing a Teferi Temporal Archmage. He's looking at
Nick Bolas God Pharaoh.
Nicholas Bolas, you almost call him.
Ujin the Spirit Dragon.
Yeah, like what is that doing in here?
Elspeth Sun's Champion. What the hell are people doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing to my girl Sliver Queen?
They're making a control deck and being hyper competitive with her.
Damn it.
Yes. They're going to play Chain Veil in there to go infinite with Teferi.
Yeah, they are.
Right? They're going to play Knowledge Pool. You have access to all 5 colors.
Why wouldn't you do all that stuff?
Yeah. Why not do the most powerful thing?
A lot of the times when you're playing Wooburg, you're playing it for the colors, not necessarily for the commander.
That's the thing. There's Eternal Witness there, and Atrax is in the list.
Of course she
great,
is.
Great with all the Planeswalkers we just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So I guess if you're going to play Sliver Queen in your regular meta, maybe you do play Sliver Tribal with her, and then it becomes like the upper end of the Tier 3 lists. Maybe it's the Tier 2.5 list. That
it could be.
That is hyper competitive but is tuned backwards. Maybe it's the 75% Sliver Queen deck.
You could easily tune this to be less of a douchebag deck and just have it be a deck that wins with combos, but have it be a little bit less douchey. All you got to do, once you start cutting tutors, this deck becomes more fair the fewer tutors that are in it.
And probably more fun, honestly. That being said, it's not Sliver Tribal, so when we look at the uniqueness rating from EDHREC.com, 35 different cards.
Boom.
And that gives us a spice rating of 26.4. Why so low with that many unique cards? Because all of the tutors.
Tutors. We have 16 tutors.
Yes. So 26.4 with 16 tutors or 15 tutors, I think that's actually really high.
Yeah, that's for where we are on the competitive scale, that's an insanely high number. Which is sad to say, but here we are.
Yeah, it would have been at least 50 spicy if you cut down the tutors, right?
Yes.
So that's pretty spicy.
That's pretty good, yeah.
You're playing a combo non-Sliver Sliver Queen deck.
Super neat. I like that a lot.
See, you've come full circle.
Yep. I started off, I hate this. I want to play a Sliver combo. And now I'm playing Slivers and combo.
And you know what's funny? If I built that and showed up on Tuesday nights and I played that against you, you'd be right back to, I fucking hate this.
Yep, I sure would.
That would be full circle. Yeah.
No, I could beat you because mine's faster.
Could be.
My real deck is faster than this one.
That's right.
I got you there.
Okay, what else do you need to? What else does anybody need to know?
I think everybody knows everything that we need to know. We're talking Sliver combo or Slivers with combo. We've got our contest winners that we're going to say again because we want you guys to get a hold of us as soon as possible, please.
Yes. Max Crandell, you've won the booster repacks.
Yep. Open flippy packs.
Yes. Chris the Fist has won the mirror, the painted Santa mirror and the 100 card repacks. Mr. the Third
has picked up a sweet assortment of random foil cards from my box.
Yes. Go back to the start of the show if you didn't remember you won. Because I only remember your sweet nicknames that we gave you on the spot.
So get a hold of us, commandercookout@gmail. Send us your information. We'll get your stuff off to you as soon as we can. But that's it.
Patrons, we already have their information. Pays to be a patron.
Neat. Okay, so we'll get those sent off as soon as we can. That's it for our special Christmas episode. So happy holidays to all of you. Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope you enjoyed our super sweet sliver list. If you want to hear us do sliver combo or talk more about my dirty sliver deck, we can do that. Hit us up. But other than that, we're going to see you in the mid-holidays before the new year, but after Christmas with a brand new episode of Commander Cookout Podcast. Hit our theme song.
Merry Fistmas.